Welcome to Whole Lot of Wolves, episode 24 of season 4. We're your hosts. I'm Joshua Buckley.
And I am, depending on where you're listening, either Paul LePage, Paul Lappage,
Lappage.
or
Paul
Paul
with
a Y.
Lepage. It's the third. There's a Lepage.
Joining us from New York City, the man who gives a new name to Tequila Sunrise, Alex Patakis. How's it going, Alex?
Much better now after a day of recovering.
When did you have that first tequila shot? Wasn't it like 7:45 New York time?
Yeah, it was about 10 minutes after the Neto goal. So when did he score? Or even 5 minutes. So he scored in 6:45 start, and he scored like 30 something minutes. It was definitely pre 7:30 Eastern. Yeah. Which
Bravo.
is in winter about the sunrise time. So you're dead on with that.
Yeah. How many tequila shots did you have?
I think finished on 3.
Anytime you can say I think, it's probably too many.
It was a weird experience. We all, I'm sure, had quite a ride on that day. So I'm excited to talk about that.
Yep. Joining us from Baltimore, the man who was shotgunning beers with our other guest, who I'll introduce at 5:30 a.m., Mr. Danny Paletti. Danny, are you recovered fully?
Oh, I'm fully recovered. People expected me to go crazy, but I can't promise all day drinking when that day starts at 5:30 a.m.
And from Minnesota, the man who slept through his alarm but still got up in time to have his shotgun beer with Danny and host his party, Mr. Todd DeWitt. Todd, how you doing?
Excellent. It is such a good Monday.
It was. I had a little extra pep in my step for sure. Really, all day. And that was because the Wolves took it to the shit. 2-0 win over West Brom Albion. 3-0 if you want to count the fight in the stands. I don't know. I think maybe that was a draw. I don't know. Paul, how are you doing knowing that your Wolves, our Wolves, just won in the Hawthorns for the first time since 1996?
It is. It's a glowing feeling when you're stepping outdoors on a bright, sunny Monday morning. You've got that skip in your step, and it was everything that you could have asked for in terms of that type of performance, that type of result, and everything that went with it. I would say personally, I don't feel a little hollow, but I just really miss that cherry on the top of the cake of walking into a local office on the Monday morning and absolutely giving it shit to your co-workers who support them. Because I could have gone out yesterday or today and we could have lost and it would have been exactly the same, like no contact with them whatsoever. So that's the only thing, that's the only sour element, but it doesn't take the shine off of what they did.
You should have catfished some West Brom fan like on Reddit or something. Find I'm really bummed about this result. Anybody want to meet up and talk about the game? Meet them at a coffee shop just to give them shit.
Or
to just walk in and throw the coffee in their face and walk out.
Apply for a job at their workplace and just walk up in your Wolves jersey.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I'm having some Albion tears tonight. Little salty, but still tastes so delicious. Yum, yum, yum. Todd, you're the longest established American plastic out of all of us.
Yeah.
Was this like your first Black Country Derby to experience, or you've done others, haven't you?
I've done others. I've never experienced a win at the Hawthorns. This one was so excellent. I don't really count the games during the COVID season. That season just seems like a dream, and just
not in a good way.
Nothing happened. A nightmare. Nothing happened during that season. But before that would have been that 5-1 loss when after that Mick McCarthy got sacked. At that time that felt like a nightmare. In retrospect, that was maybe the best thing that has ever happened to us. This one was great. Yeah, it was awesome.
Paul, I think for us Americans that hadn't really experienced before, we were kind of told about it leading up to it, but then just hearing just the sounds of both sets of fans leading up to the game sounded incredible. How did it sound to you? Like what were your feelings leading into that game?
You could tell just on going off like the limited coverage that we get, it was like the volume had turned up a notch. Just from a regular Premier League game to that game was totally different to anything I've heard in a good few years, definitely. So you knew that there was something about it, that just even the camera shots that go to the crowd, there was just something, that was totally different, that was put it on an edge, put the volume all the way up in terms of the atmosphere and the feeling, even that shone through on the images. So you could, if you were a neutral tuning into that for the first time, you'd be like, what is going on here? So that's what came across. And I was hoping it would do, and would do in a positive way. Again, just to reinforce that if you could have written the script about what a traditional English derby of two well-established, long-established rivals is, you couldn't have written a better story than what happened yesterday. So it did check every box.
Alex, I think my favorite part of the broadcast was the fact that anytime they cut to the fans, they had to immediately cut away because there was either some kind of wanking gesture, double fingers, or easily to mouth obscenities. It was just fantastic.
Yeah, and it was like such rich meme miming territory, which we have since seen come to fruition on social media. But yeah, they had to know what they were doing. I think that they could have stopped cutting to the crowd, but I think they were trying to give us a glimpse of just how volatile, I guess, that environment is, and just really waiting to spill over, which it eventually did, obviously.
Todd, next time you go to Wolverhampton, how important is it for you to have a beer with Long John Silver?
Oh, priority number one. I will find this man and I will buy him a pint. He was incredible. Saw that picture pop up and I was like, I need to know this man. I need to know his story.
Yeah, we need to figure out a way to get him on the podcast as a guest, because I'm sure he just has some great stuff to tell. It seemed like he was the big star along with Red Skull, the West Brom fan. We'll get into him in a little bit. Danny's already shaking his head.
Good Lord.
But yeah, I mean, just really a fantastic atmosphere. It definitely reminded me of those big college games. And we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. But let's get to the game. And Paul, it kind of seemed like Wolves were running in mud a little bit early on and a little bit shaky. What do you think the deal was there?
I think I'll put it down to being a little cagey, being the big fish away from home, knowing that home team's got to come on and take the initiative a little as the underdog coming up against the bigger team at home. They'd probably be expected to do that, and you saw a distinct pattern in that they would attack, and then as soon as we got possession back, it was a case of them going into that really low block at home and just waiting for us to bring the ball onto them. So I'd say cagey, but probably nothing that O'Neill didn't expect was coming. And I think that's the way it was quite beautifully crafted in how the goals turned out.
Danny, were you worried early on, kind of with the energy level?
Yeah, a little bit. It's hard to tell at the beginning. I expected them to sort of absorb some pressure early on just because I expected West Brom to come out sort of firing, trying to get something early. But it's hard to tell in those early stages if they're going to let the occasion get to them. I mean, there's a lot of noise in the stadium, and some of those, I mean, I thought we absorbed the pressure well, but there were some moves that left us pretty exposed. Tody doesn't usually get turned around like he did in the first 5 minutes. there was also a a free header in the box shortly after. So some things that could definitely unsettle us. But I'm glad that it looked like the guys sort of took it in stride and kept going the way that they were, because it was the right game plan, it seems. I mean, we talked about it on the preview one, where it's just, it's going to be intense there. Just need to absorb some pressure and let our much superior counterattacking do the talking.
And speaking of that counterattacking, that's where the first goal came off of. Matt Doherty, beautiful assist, got it into Neto. Todd, what was your favorite part? Was it the West Brom fans who preemptively were laughing at Neto as he kind of lost the ball at his feet just for half a second, or Neto's celebration?
Really, the West Brom fans just doing that. Well, hey, just like, ugh. Then that silence in between that and when the ball hits the back of the net, just absolutely priceless.
Injected.
I watched that clip on repeat all day. It was so good.
Yeah, you could just hear their souls, feel them die a little
Yes.
inside. But
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And then the
Although-
other clip.
Oh, go ahead,
The
Todd.
other clip from further down the stands where West Brom fans recording. I don't know if you've all seen this, but he says,
Yes.
"Oh, if they score here, it's going to be absolute limbs." And just incredible stuff.
It was great. Paul, what a great job by Neto, too. Really, that's to me the sign of a dude who has it going right now. He knew where the goal was, didn't panic when he lost a little bit of control there, never looked up. He just looked straight at the ball, boom, right through, perfect shot. I mean, just a beauty to watch.
I think that's what you can rely on when it comes to an informed Pedro Neto playing down the right and bringing it in on his favoured foot. So that was the worst mistake, that they even offered him that glimpse. And then that's probably that's one of the reasons you're talking about two goals in class is that type of finishing. So when you've got that in your armory and it's coming from a player like him who's got the pace, and you add all that together, and it's really good to have that option, that attacking intent from Neto.
Todd, I think we're kind of basically realizing the situation that he probably won't be with the team this next season. He'll probably get sold off. But how exciting was it to see a guy who has really come so far and embraced the club that when he scored, he's throwing up the front of his jersey, not pointing to the back. He's throwing up the front of his jersey and then giving a little heart sign to the West Brom fans.
That was incredible. That whole celebration with the team and him, and just knowing that, like, how he's progressed as a player from when we brought him in to now, and how much he is in love with this club, or it seems to be in love with this club, was just like icing on the cake. And then little Tommy Doyle coming in towards the middle of the celebration and just telling the West Brom fans to, hey, pipe down, sit down. Oh, awesome stuff.
Yeah. What do you think? Is he going to go down with that goal, Danny, as one of the all-time great Wolves, assuming he leaves? Like, how is he going to be regarded in the club's history?
I think so. I mean, I think the only thing that takes a bit off it is just the amount of time he spent injured. So he hasn't really been that central figure for long stretches, the way that, like, I don't know, even Raul, even though he was out for so long with the head injury, like, still came back and felt like that kind of central figure of like a Nuno team, or what had, evolved out of a Nuno team. Whereas Neto, I think, I don't know, maybe it's just because he's a winger. I think of him as more peripheral. He plays out on the wing. And so that's the way it feels. But in terms of his contributions, it can't be it can't be understated. That season where Raul got injured, him and Adama basically carried us to safety on their backs that entire season. And now, of course, that he's back and he's even better than he ever was. I think if he leaves in the summer, I mean, he's going to reach that level of, like, this is sad to see you go, but also you can't ask for much more.
Yeah, I agree. He's definitely going to be one of those where, please don't go to, Liverpool or anything like that, but it's definitely going to be, respect and hey, thanks for everything you gave us, like we've done with Neves so far. So halftime came and went. The first really big change was Aitnery coming in, but it wasn't for Doc. It was for the Bella Guardian of the Galaxy. Todd, did that kind of surprise you a little bit that they kind of played Rain in more of a winger role?
A little bit, but not much. I thought Doc was one of our better players that first half. I mean, just the way he set up that goal for one. I thought bringing him off at halftime was going to be harsh, but I didn't see that switch coming with the Bella Guardian of the Galaxy.
Yes, I got him to say it.
And Eight Nuri. I know Eight Nuri can play higher up, but yeah, didn't see it coming. Ended up great. I thought even though he is the Bella Guardian of the Galaxy, he was a little bit anonymous that first half.
Yeah, he was.
No fault to his own. He was being played in a kind of a position he wasn't super familiar with. Yeah.
I did like how he knew he was coming off at the next break. And so by God, he got the ball at his foot and fired when he had a chance. And really that was a good shot on goal too, Paul.
Yeah, that's the I think you've got some opportunity as he finds his spot in the team. I think he offers a genuine goal threat from those types of positions, a little like we saw that goal against Sheffield United. So I think if we can hone him where his best position is, you wouldn't really like the ball dropping to him in those parts, because I think he's going to cause some trouble.
And then boy, oh boy, Matheus Cunha pulled it off. Great job by Kilman. Found him from deep. Stayed just onside. Really tough angle. Nutmeg the keeper. Got it in. Followed by the epic Wolves own this stadium. Own this team. Paul, where does that goal rank all time amongst Wolves memories? Because I kind of feel like the situation, it's you could make an argument top 10, top 5.
You can make an argument for obviously generationally, but I'm thinking back into mine that it probably squeezes in the top 10. Definitely, just in terms of historical significance, in that it's been so long for it to actually happen. And that definitely felt like the cherry on top of the cake that we'd won, and that was the crescendo. And I just think the pair of them, both Neto and Cunha, I think everyone would have celebrated in their own unique way and have really bought into it. But personally, I couldn't have wished for any better scorers than those two, just for their individual celebrations. And Cunha was just that topped it off. Just him individually, the crowd in front of it was picture book.
Yeah, that's why I think it was so memorable too, is the celebration to go after it. Todd, I saw you thinking, where does this rank? You feel like?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be up there. Man, it's Neves and his free kicks and a few of his goals, or maybe rank a little higher, but like Paul said, historical significance. Like I've never seen a win at the Hawthorns since I've been a Wolves fan since the late 2000s. So this is definitely up there. And the celebration is what just elevates it. Just to go there, man. Cunha gets it. He gets how big that game was to us, and that celebration. Oof.
I mean, that's the thing, is it's about the whole narrative too. I mean, I thought as soon as we went into the second half, like they're going to be shooting towards the Wolves fans. Like, I really hope we get a goal down there so that they can celebrate right there. And then also Cunha, especially, I mean, he was always going to be a focal point in this game, but he was the one who was constantly being asked, because he does more media than others, like, oh, well, as a foreign player,
because he's great.
Yeah. As a foreign player, do you understand the significance of the Black Country Derby and whatever. And so he's, come out with those good sound bites that everybody likes, comparing it to Brazil, Argentina, or Madrid or whatever. But for it to be him and then to do such an iconic celebration that's not like, it's not like the finger to the temple or whatever that everybody attributes to Rashford, even though we know that Neves did it before him. Like it's not something that's like been done a million times. It was unique, and it was something that immediately caught everybody's eye and made them wonder, like, what is this? Like, I'm not saying that no one's ever done it before, but it was like it made you take notice. And then like the fact that that celebration is born out of understanding what it means for the fans is why it becomes so iconic. I do want to just say, how great was it to celebrate that goal and not worry about VAR? Because as soon as it went through and he scored, I had the thought immediately, like, oh God, I hope he's not offside. And I said it out loud, and then I immediately said, it doesn't matter. He could have had his big toe offside. Doesn't matter. No one can tell us differently now. It's just better. This is like VAR was not introduced to stop that kind of moment. His foot might have been offside. I don't know. It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah. And really, I thought overall pretty fairly officiated. There were a few that you could have maybe upgraded the card some, but overall I was like, hey, this is the way it should be.
I thought he did a good job of keeping his cards in his pocket early on, so it didn't boil over.
Yeah, which it could have. Speaking of Cunha, there's a no stupid question, Alex.
That's right. So speaking of Cunha and the celebration, Charlotte Wolves tweeted at the show, WOW Pod is the handle. Has the GoFundMe been open to commission the statue of Cunha's "We Own You" celebration? But the more serious part of his question related to Cunha was, are we seeing Cunha's ceiling now, or do we think there is another level in his game?
It's a really good question, Paul.
It is, because you're thinking like how well he works in this three, how fluid it is, how he can pop up in these different positions and influence the attacking play either with assists or goals like that. Then on the flip side, you're thinking, well, often the talk is that they want to sign this number 9, this genuine front man, so Cunha can play off of him. So is he even going to be better in a front two, or however that position's going to be designed? But even if he continues on this trajectory as part of a forward three, I'm worried. I'm expecting Neto to go, and I'll be sad. But I'll be even sadder when Cunha goes, because he's on lift-off mode at the moment, and he keeps this up. We may hang on to him this summer, but I wouldn't be surprised if they come knocking for him so early.
I got a number for you, Todd. 11. Since 11/11, November 11th, Matheus Cunha is third among Premier League teams, Premier League players who have been involved in goals across all competitions. João Pedro has 13. Mohamed Salah has 12. Matheus Cunha with 11. Do you think he's still got that next level? I mean, that's big numbers right there.
This is why he's on my fantasy team. Absolutely. I think he can.
As he should be.
I think he has still another gear in him once we get a little bit more pieces that work with his playing style and how he kind of pops up everywhere. I think there's just a little bit more to his game that we haven't seen, and I am excited to see what good old Gary can bring out of him next season.
I thought what was funny, Danny, was if you listen to his interview with Gemma after the game, he was disappointed not to have the brace. He actually said the second shot was actually the better shot. So he was hoping to score there. He's a joy to watch when he's interviewed, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he's really fun. His joy is so infectious, and I feel like, I mean, I'm gonna reach back a bit more here, but it's like one of the things I felt like our team was a bit unbalanced with sort of pre last January. So that new crop of signings was like, we had a lot of very serious characters, and that's good. Like, I'm glad that there were so many people taking it seriously. But even players that we loved, like Ruben Neves, he's not a particularly joyful person. Um, and he's that kind of leader, and that's great. But like one of the things I think really helped us get out of the shit we were in last season was just him and the others who came in who have that joy about them. It helps. I mean, like that's a bit of what we loved about Connor Cody was like in those moments where things aren't going well for a player to just like lift the spirits a little bit, or like even conversely, if you see him get upset at something, it's like, okay, this is serious. This normally joyful man is very frustrated, and it helps the entire vibe on the team. Great vibes on the team right now.
Alex, he's kind of, when I think of a typical Brazilian star, this is kind of what I'm thinking. Somebody that has that passion and that fun, because they're always known as like those fun-loving guys. I mean, obviously they're great on the pitch, but they just enjoy it so much.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that culture is kind of not that we have so many Brazilians, but we do have a few, and I do feel like that general attitude towards the sport in general seems to be spreading a little bit, which is definitely approached with a lightness that in Brazil is probably criticized, to be frank. Like anytime they don't win a World Cup, people are not exactly happy about them, playing music in the clubhouse and dancing and everything like that. But you got to take the good with the bad. So I think in particular, in the West Midlands, I don't want to offend anybody here, but like, the West Midlands and the doldrums of winter, you kind of need people like that around you to lighten the mood a little bit, I would say. So yeah, it's been incredible. He seems like a typical Brazilian in the absolute best sense, I will say.
You're saying Tetanol Pool isn't just like the beach at Rio?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, man.
Paul, I feel like this was the group to win this game too, just because it seemed like they got it and they were able to match the intensity. I feel like if we still had Dumbo Nunes and Guedes, Giancarlo Guedes, I feel like they would have folded in an environment like that. Podence probably would have done okay, but I feel like the other two would have folded.
It talks to that team spirit, and again the balance of characters, because you've still got some that the ride off the passion, but then that's why it's so nice to have a blend that you have got players in there like Kilman and Doc who are experienced, don't necessarily lose the heads in those types of situations. Obviously, Kilman's got the captaincy for probably those types of characteristics. When it's all kicking off, he's got to be the one going up to the ref and trying to dampen it down. So if there is an off day where Dawson looked a little rattled at an occasion with the ball at his feet sometimes, then the incident with Bartley, that's when you want those other players to step in and come to the fore. And I think they did that perfectly yesterday. It was a real good balance of passion, but experience and knowing how to play that type of game.
I also loved Sauce stomping on the West Brom balloon. There were so many great photos from that game. Just fantastic. So, of course, after Cunha's big goal and celebration, that kicked off a little bit of an ugly part of the day. It seems like kind of what we pieced together. There was probably one or two Wolves fans in that home side celebrating maybe a little too much, and it turned into a full-on brawl. A lot of West Brom fans storming to get to that part of the stands. The police go running. One dude got his head beat so bad he was covered in, blood. Old Red Skull there. I wonder if he's a legend over there now. I can't imagine so, right? I don't know. Todd, how do you feel about this? Do you think it was a stain on the game or something that was just like really helped you understand how hated these teams are?
A little of both. I think like from the videos we've all seen online, like the Wolves fans in the home end weren't being quiet about their who they were cheering for. For it to take until the 79th minute for West Brom fans to do something to quote unquote win in the stands, come on. I think how they handled themselves was a disgrace. I think by going toe to toe with the police with Red Skull, I think he flipped off or knocked off a hat of a policeman or tried to. I think like 100% got what he deserved. But like I enjoyed the rivalry. I enjoyed the banter back and forth, but they handled themselves in a pretty poor way.
I don't know how you could say you won in the stands when you have a dude this face bloodied. You have another guy getting carted off with a paramedic. You have your players who are running to get their kids out of that stand. You have Joe Hillbilly walking across the stands before the cops tackle him. Like,
And
how do
like
you claim a win in the stands?
for everything that we know, the Wolves fans that we've seen being carried away, they've just all been like politely grabbed by the police and like escorted away. It's the West Brom fans who are like in headlocks and being obnoxious and just too much.
Yeah. Paul, were you surprised by that? I mean, you grew up around that rivalry.
Yeah, to be honest, I was surprised. I wasn't surprised in the circumstances that happened, but I don't think I've ever been in a situation like that that's warranted the teams being taken off. And now whether there was, it looked like a greater reason for that to happen based on it being in the West Brom family stand. I think Bartley's family, he took them out, personally. So if you are playing the match as one of the team and you're seeing that happening and you're thinking your family are in danger, then that's some pretty significant shit. So I've never seen it to that extent, and I was just dreading the fact that if they don't get it under control, then what would happen to the game, Would we have to go through it all again? Would it get abandoned and would we waste that opportunity? So I was just glad that it did eventually settle down into some sort of organization again, and they're able to finish it up.
Well, I tell you who wasn't going to let that game be abandoned, and that was the police. They didn't want to deal with that nonsense for another day. I did feel like, though, at times, Paul, when I was seeing, the cops come in and here come the riot gear, it felt like the Benny Hill cops. I was just waiting for the...
A little bit. It just looks, even like the stewards, they look like so unprepared for it all. Like that one trying to throw the woman off who kind of got, it's like she got to the halfway line and was kicking the ball. She looked like
tried
she's
to nutmeg
hammered.
him.
Yeah, he couldn't even control her. And it's like just like the lack of professional, like it doesn't happen very often. So you shouldn't be asking like for these professionals. But it was like, man, just get a grip.
I couldn't believe it was a 37-minute delay, Danny. And what'd you think of the archers arriving to Helm's Deep?
Okay. You're really trying to trigger me here.
That's what it felt like to me, though. Here they come, in a single file.
What I was thinking about was I was really feeling for our West Coast friends. I was sitting there being like, man, it's 5:30 in the morning, and you're sitting there waiting for this game to be over. There's only 12 minutes left of this game left, and I'm sure Nate and others were just sitting there thinking, come on, please just finish this game so I can go back
well,
to
especially
bed.
Nate, because he had the 49ers game later that night. So
Yeah.
I will say during that whole incident, I am super proud of the Wolves fans in the stadium who kept their cool, kept chanting, kept supporting the team, and not engaging with that childishness. But I'm also super proud of the Wolves players who, like, there are reports of them, like the families who went out of the stand because the field was, or the pitch was the safest place to be. Like the Wolves players checking up on those families and making sure they're okay. And
it's a likable team, man.
It's a likable team, man. I just love this team so much.
I do too.
And then the
Also,
video and
Go ahead.
video and pictures of Jose Sa. Just it looks like he's just squaring up to that entire stand and just wants to take them all on. Like I know that's probably not the case, but that's what it looks like, and that's what I'm going to choose to believe.
Actually, I think that probably is the case. Let's be honest. As they saw.
Yeah, so I had downloaded the footage for ITV, so the broadcast over in the UK of it. And during that break, when they went back to the studio to kill time, they have like a live shot just like over that goal, just in front of the Wolves fans. And the Wolves fans are just sitting there sort of partying. They're just in the stands dancing, waiting for the game to restart.
My favorite was
another
them
kind of
going,
joyful.
behave yourselves, West Brom, sit down.
Yeah. Yep.
Just bravo on that. Was there a no stupid question from this, Alex, from I think somebody who was at the match?
Yeah, that's right. We have a no stupid question from Stu, who writes in on Twitter. Would it be okay in an NFL stadium for thousands of people to accuse others of incest?
So you don't see this in professional sports, but I can tell you, look, guys, I'm an Alabama fan. I've heard a lot of incest jokes over the years.
Yeah, true.
Even from, we'll hear it from like Louisiana, which, God, those guys, they smell like corn dogs. Like, okay, come on, really? You guys are gonna, or Tennessee. I mean, well, I have some friends in Tennessee. Justin Buznado, close your ears. I mean, they can't even spell. They can't even spell incest. So they're talking about it. I don't know. So it definitely does happen. It does. I see no problem with it. It's all in good fun. Well, I say it's in good fun, but actually, I don't think in this case it was in good fun. Paul, what's the best incest joke you've made to a West Brom fan?
Well, that's a good one. There's been a lot.
See, I knew he'd done it.
Just anything to do with an extra digit on each hand. That covers everything.
I did enjoy the extra digit stuff this week. The 7 finger, or you can count all these goals on one hand. That was good stuff. Stu, when you go to the Jets stadium, don't make incest jokes. That probably won't go over well. It's not the same with the Jets and the Giants as it is in the Black Country Derby.
Although that's more similar to the UK in terms of the proximity of those two teams.
Yeah. That's why I brought that one up. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man of the match, Paul. There were several on there. Tommy Doyle, your boy, being one of them, who had 100% tackles won, 84% pass accuracy, 7 long balls completed, 2 interceptions, and 1 key pass. Is that your man of the match? Or are you gonna give it to one of the goal scorers?
Yeah, he was close. I think that's where part of the game was won yesterday, was the midfield. And again, it seemed to me like Doyle shone brighter than Lamina. They complemented each other pretty well, but that was a game for Tommy Doyle to thrive in, and I think he did. But for me, I've got to give it to Cunha, just being the biggest threat throughout, and that one easily could have become 2 with a wonderful save. So it's Cunha for me.
Todd?
Yeah, it's got to be Cunha. Just as much as the threat he was the entire game, and how he could have very easily made it 2, like Paul was saying, I think I have to give it to him. Close runner up for me is Jose Sa, just because like he did his business on the pitch. Not that he was ever really tested, but just the banter that he is going to have in the group text this next week of him taking a picture of Dawson in the tunnel. I think, man, close second for me.
Alex?
Yeah, I think I also have to go Cunha. I think Doyle was great, obviously, read off the numbers, but I also felt like, Cunha, I was actually shocked he didn't score again
So
at
was
the end of
he.
that game. Yeah, he was too. So I'll give it to him, and he kind of won the day for me with the celebration that literally made their fans implode. So can't really ask for more than that.
Danny? Is it a Cunha sweep?
Yeah, I'll make it a clean sweep and say Cunha. He was the man of the hour, the man for the day. I mean, iconic celebration. You can't really go past that. I'll just to give something to talk about. I'll give my honorable mention to Max Kilman. I
I
just think
was, yeah.
he had one of his most solid games, I think, this season. Outside of the sort of like heroic, like Man City win, sort of, and even there, he didn't have the hardest task like Craig Dawson did with Holland. But Kilman kind of stepped up to me when I think Toady had a shaky first 15 minutes. I thought Dawson looked slightly off the pace, although he didn't really do anything wrong. He was just a little more anonymous than he normally is, kind of getting constant clearances. Max Hillman really stepped up, and he ended up with an assist, and it was good vision to see Cunha. So
Mm-hmm.
One other underrated thing from Cunha in terms of the whole experience of the day, when asked about the stuff in the stands afterwards, just acknowledging like Brazil, Argentina, man, like I'm used to this. I
I'm
expected
from
this.
South America.
Yeah, like come on.
Yeah, I saw somebody that was like, "Oh, he's not used to this in South America." I was like, "You haven't been watching South American
I have
games."
no
Like,
idea.
yeah, there's a reason a lot of us Americans are like, that would be cool, but no thanks, no thanks. I'm gonna cheat and go outside the box. My man of the match is those 3,000 Wolves fans who were in attendance, having a good old time. You could still hear them. The Albion fans were loud. This was the first time where it wasn't like Wolves fans were completely overpowering them, but you could still hear them. I mean, the pack is just awesome. The traveling fans, I really feel like Wolves traveling fans are got to be one of the best in the league, and certainly among the loudest. Okay, guys, little question, Paul. Let's say you win the Powerball. Would you spend all of your money on the Powerball to buy West Brom to purposefully tank the club and make them broke? So you lose all of your money, but you can completely tank them and to send them down. Would you do it?
No, I've probably got a kid to put through college, so that's probably take up most of that. So yeah,
Todd?
priorities.
That's a tough one.
These
How
are
big's
the
the
these are the things
Powerball?
I think about at night.
Yeah. Yeah, why not? You only live once. Fuck them.
Alex, is that how you're spending your money? Or I
Uh,
mean, that's probably 2 months rent in New York City, right?
yeah. Um, I'm gonna, I'm gonna go no, but I would do something. You know what? I would do something with that money in some way to help Wolves rather than, sink West Brom. I think, which is basically just the plot of Ted Lasso, right? Like it's just,
Yeah.
rich owner wants to tank team, and with my luck, I would try to do that and accidentally hire the right guy, and all of a sudden West Brom is like back in the Premier League or something.
I would buy an advertisement board in the stadium and it'd just be Cunha's celebration. That's
Yeah,
it.
like that kind of stuff is what I'm talking. Yeah,
Just be super petty.
See, I think I do stuff like I'd make their sponsor like the worst sponsor imaginable, like Roto Rooter. Um, and then I'd spend like 100 million pounds to buy Giancarlo Guedes. And just some of those guys that are super nice guys. Isn't what's his face, the woman beater from Man United? I think he's still available, right? Yeah, those would be
Gosh,
the great
Greenwood.
guys that I put on my
Ugh.
roster. Just watch him
Gross.
oh
implode.
my god.
Watch him.
Speaking of putting a ridiculous sponsor, for not having historical context to this rivalry, my friend who I was watching with, he's from there, showed me a picture of the actual mascot that was a
Oh
boiler
yeah, how have we
at
not
one
talked
Oh,
point,
about
yeah.
this?
which is so hilarious. Josh, I don't know if you've seen this,
Uh-uh.
but an actual
Wow.
mascot like costume of a boiler, because their sponsor was, I forget like what the name
Ideal
was, but
heating.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
unbelievable. Like that is something that I would think, like, if you were an owner trying to play a joke on your own club, you would do, but they actually did that.
Danny, I feel like one of the missed advertising opportunities was Red Skull not having his West Brom jersey completely open to say ideal heating. How glad do you think the CEO of that company is that none of the people that were
Oh
getting
my
like carried
God.
off bloody had ideal heating just right there for all the photos?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when you get below the Premier League, I think the calculus changes slightly. I mean, it's changing now because the championship is starting to be watched a lot overseas too, but it's like the further down the pyramid you go, the dip how the more it changes the sort of calculus on what you're expecting out of that kind of sponsorship. Because that's why you see like on the lower league teams, it's all local businesses because the only people watching it are people who are from there. But yeah, that's a funny thing for Ideal Heating to suddenly have a global audience and then this guy with his face bloodied advertising it for them.
I feel like this was a very good mind the gap moment, Paul, was seeing Wolves have this, international PayPal type thing, and West Brom has this fucking local heating company.
It is the levels, hopefully just
Oh,
and long may it continue that we're just in a different stratosphere, and that's where we should keep it.
Danny just sent me the photo of this boiler.
I
It
can't
looks
believe
like
we
an
haven't talked about
HVAC
this
unit that's
before.
outside.
So someone even took it up a notch though and did the meme of Homer going back into the bush of the boiler, and that was just that was some top class shithousery with that one.
Oh, I
Yes.
need somebody with Photoshop to take this and put like blood running down it, being carried off by the cops. Does your family use Ideal Heating, Paul? Have you ever heard of that company?
I've not, but I'm 13 years removed, so they could be really popular in the Midlands and employ a load of people. So I'm not going to bash them too much. I might have relatives that work there or something.
Last thoughts on this, Paul? Just how are you going to look back on this game?
With thanks, like thank you to that team, just and those players and those goal scorers and those fans. This has been so long overdue. It's just like a huge monkey off the back, and it's just thanks and relief and all of that rolled into one big ball of emotion.
How about you, Todd?
Yeah, similar lines. Like this is easily one of the best memories I have since being a Wolves fan of just getting that revenge. I really wanted to just smash them 6-0. But I'll take a 2-0 win and their own fans humiliating themselves. That is just like the cherry on top.
Alex, what are you going to remember, if anything? What do you remember, if anything?
Yeah, I would say the whole experience. I mean, one, I echo everything Paul said, with, thanks to this team and I think the characters on it, but also really thankful that, a game of this magnitude provided such a unique experience, because I hope actually I could say confidently that I will not be drinking at 6:30 in the morning, taking tequila shots at a bar that's not technically open on a rainy Sunday morning in Manhattan, like ever again. Because I don't know, like, if 5 years down the road, like my body can handle that. So I'm just thankful for that experience.
My body
Now
couldn't
it's
handle
definitely,
that. Yeah.
yeah, everyone we were, it was awesome to be able to share that with other Wolves fans, and people who were there were like, this will just be such a great New York memory too. And it's one of the great things about being a fan of this sport in the US is, like, as it becomes increasingly popular, maybe it loses some of that like kind of like underground, like secret society feeling. But
I like that.
when you're, when you're somewhere, when you're walking out of a bar, you know, drunk, and people are like starting their days, pushing their strollers, walking their dogs, and it's like I was joking. I almost felt like I was withholding a secret from the world, because everyone's looking at me, probably just thinking like, oh, there's another person, not
Who's
someone who
this
was
drunk
like
bastard?
who's 5 hours into drinking already. So it was yeah, just that whole experience is incredible, and I'm really thankful for it. It's one of my favorite New York mornings for sure.
Now, Alex, we're going to be taking tequila shots at FanFest, right?
Yeah. I didn't choose the tequila, by the way. I hate tequila, so I don't want to be like labeled as tequila guy, because it's actually my least preferred
Tequila
shot.
Sunrise. That's your new nickname.
Yeah. That was the choice of our gracious host, Miguel, who's a kind of a famous New York Wolves guy, because he was the one at the last Fan Fest who's like posed with his arms spread wide open, like celebrating this goal, which was awesome. So that was his doing. So blame him.
Danny, lasting memory?
Yeah, I just well, first of all, Alex, you say you're not waking up that early to drink for Wolves, but wait till they make Champions League, and then UEFA decides to put the final in Saudi Arabia or whatever.
Oh no.
Oh, Jesus.
I hadn't even considered that. I will gladly do it if it means that we'll be hearing the
It means that
Champions
Wolves
League
are in a
anthem.
Champions League final. Yeah. No, I mean just what everyone else has said. It was such an amazing experience, even thousands of miles away. I think in some ways, although obviously the early kickoff isn't ideal either for the local fans or for us, in some ways it was a fun opportunity to like really drive home how special this was and how important it was of a day. Because I think that just as I guess the social media guy, like, you just see people rallying around it like, all right, well, this is what we're doing. There's like no negotiation. Whereas if for whatever reason, if there was some weird, event in the UK that meant that a game against West Ham was going to be at 6:30 in the morning, I think a lot of Americans would make the choice like, nah, I'll watch that one on replay. But this one was like, no, not watching this one on replay. As long as I'm not at work, I'm watching it live and I'm getting up in time to make breakfast and make coffee and shotgun a beer. So that was really fun and special. And I learned that although my body can't really handle shotgunning beers that well anymore, that the way to do it is to do it so early that your body is fully confused. Your digestive system is not woken up yet. So I shotgunned a beer. I started drinking coffee and Guinness at the same time after it. And that seemed to create kind of like the Simpsons thing where Mr. Burns is being told that he has all of the diseases and thus isn't getting sick because they're all jammed in the door trying to get into his body. Similarly, I confused my body with enough things, the breakfast and the coffee and the Guinness, that I felt pretty okay. So that's good knowledge.
I feel like this is definitely one of those games that is a badge of honor for the American Wolves fans. Like, yeah, I woke up early and drank during the Black Country Derby.
Very heavily. Drank very heavily.
I didn't drink very heavily because I was doing stuff with my daughter that day, but I did have one. So it was later that I was drinking the Albion Tears. Paul, you ready for the best stat you're gonna hear regarding Albion?
Give me that stat, Josh.
The Wolves are now unbeaten at the Hawthorns for 12 years, 3 months, and 14 days.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
That's also 641 weeks in 2 days. So there you go. You got that. Well, we've advanced. Yay. That was almost kind of like, an added bonus there. Wolves drew Brighton in the 5th round. It is going to be at Molineux. Paul, how do you feel about that?
It's not the best draw, but it's not the worst draw.
It's not the worst.
So
yeah.
It's like it's bottom of the mid tier of draws that you really want to. And I'm probably only saying that because of our shit record against them. But I don't know. I just think there's potentially something special about this cup run that I'm kind of glad that we're playing them and it's at home. I think it's the type of opponent that we could do something against at this particular stage of the season. So I'm not out on it.
Todd, as tempting as it is to have wished we played a championship team, I almost feel like there's a little less pressure having drawn another mid-table team, especially on one that we can kind of get revenge on for that 4-1 loss at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. As much as I wanted Maidstone at home, I wanted that deep in my body. We were all watching the draw. We went from my buddy's place to the bar, and we all watched the draw on my phone while continuing to drink. And just the collective sigh when we were announced who we got, it was just like, it's whatever. I'm confident we can go in and beat them. I'm confident we can go in and set our record straight. But just for like the storytelling aspect, I definitely wanted Maidstone.
Danny, how do you feel now that we've gotten through West Brom, knowing who we have next, seeing who's left? How do you feel about the cup run in general?
Probably about the same. I felt mildly optimistic before, and I still feel mildly optimistic. I haven't really looked into what Brighton's schedule is going to be because I think that this game is going to be could be like a midweek game at the end
It's
of
going to be
February.
Wednesday, February 28th is what it's planned for right now.
Yeah, but they're all given the same time, so they're not all going to be on the same day. But yeah, I think so. It's midweek of that last week of February, and I just I immediately thought, well, Brighton are in an okay position in the league, and that might improve or it might not. They're still in Europe, and I just wonder to what extent De Zerbi is going to want to really go for an FA Cup, considering that I mean, we're not even into the quarterfinals yet. Like it's still a long road, and not that he's going to throw it, obviously, but that he might think that this is the least important of the three fronts he's fighting on. And that gives us a chance. And I also think that we are a much better team than we were in that game back at the beginning of the season. And I also think that that game back at the beginning of the season was unrepresentative even of that team. We let in 3 goals in 10 minutes, which was unusual, and we collapsed. And I think now, after we've seen Gary O'Neill for longer, we can say that that was something where he didn't have everything in place yet. And we also know that there was a player there that didn't want to be there at all. Playing
He didn't
basically that
even
whole
stay
game.
the whole game.
Yeah, he decided not to
He
even
flew on
play the
out.
entire game.
He flew on
Yeah.
out. You have
With his
no
ears.
idea.
Very good. So, I think that if nothing else, this draw is a good chance for Gary O'Neill and for the team to show how much they've progressed in basically half a year. And I think back at Molyneux, I think anything is possible.
So tentatively looking at their schedule, the game before that one is going to be a home match for them against Everton, Saturday, March 2nd. The one after is at Fulham. So, 2 games that I would think Brighton would be looking at for points. Not sure on their cup run or on their, Europe run, what that's going to look like, but, we'll see. I wouldn't mind. I mean, it's very clear that Gary O'Neill has put this as a priority, which is nice considering the last few years. I felt like we were just kind of like, whatever, throwaway. I mean, we're one of the few putting in a starting keeper. West Brom didn't even do that. And that kid got, I mean, dare to say, one of those goals a regular goalkeeper should have stopped. So, sucks to be you. All right, we have some transfer window news, but before we do that, Todd, you know where I'm going with this. We haven't had you on since Fabio got shipped off. Have you seen the last of Fabio? Is he done now with Wolves?
I mean, we'll see him in the summer for sure, but yeah, he's probably done at Wolves.
Yeah. What do you think his
see...
lasting legacy is going to be? Just like, I feel bad for the kid.
Yeah, 100%. I think we mismanaged him pretty severely. His lasting legacy is probably going to be the kid that had so much potential, but we just never really fully saw it. I have well, if you would have asked me a month ago if he was going to be a generational talent, I would have probably said yes, but knowing that he's had all these opportunities and he's not really taking them, I think he's just going to be a hot prospect that never fully hit his heights. I think he'll just be always that kid with the long flowing locks that was good on paper, but just never really fulfilled his potential. Oh,
I had
that
to
hurts.
ask because you're the biggest Fabio fan I know. So, and he believed in him to the very end. I hope he does well. I really do. I hope he realizes his potential. And there's some guys, it's very much like the NFL. my Chicago Bears have Justin Fields. I hope he does great. It's just not going to be with the
It's
Bears.
just not. Yeah, Fabio
it's
could
just
do
not.
well. He might need he needs a coach that'll really push him, I think. And unfortunately, I think there's just too much of a barrier between him and the Wolves organization for that to happen at Wolves.
Yeah, it's too bad.
I'm gonna go
Paul,
crying.
you're going to cry now. Paul, Gary O'Neill came out and said, we're probably not getting anybody, just looking at the finances. If we do, it'll be on loan. Hugo Ekatike, possibly open from. Yeah, Danny's giving me a thumbs up. Thank you for the phonetic spelling. Was that you, Danny? Yeah.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, okay. Danny gave me a phonetic spelling, which is fantastic. So PSG saying they're open to loan with an option to buy, but they still want 30 million euros. What do you think, Paul? You think it's worth it?
I'm not sure with him in particular, but there just seems so much smoke at the moment going around with rumors, and we've not been discounted for anyone. If there was a ton of interest in him from other teams, he'd have gone by now. I just think we got to listen to what they're saying. If stuff does happen, it's going to be super late, like the last penultimate day or the day of this window coming to a close. I wouldn't be surprised to see something in the next day or two, and it may not even be him. I think they're cooking something. I think there'll be potentially a number 9, or someone can take that role from the bench. And I've got a sneaky feeling I won't be surprised if there's like a random signing of a wide player that comes in.
Even with Enzo. Okay. Interesting. What do you think, Danny? You're always checking out Twitter. Do you think Ekatike is a possibility?
It's hard to say because I feel like now it's sort of lost in that middle ground between like we now know something is seriously happening between the two clubs, but it's about details and it's so hard to know any details. I do love that the most recent round of rumors from this morning were like, and it's obviously translated from French, but like that the prospect of moving to Wolves seduces Ekatike, that he's been seduced by Wolves, which obviously the Wolves fans are having a field day with because they're saying that he watched the Black Country Derby and now he has to come. So it's so hard to say. I mean, like Paul said, I mean, there's been so much smoke on this one that you can't imagine that they're not trying to get it done. And if it doesn't happen, it's going to come down to those details of what they want in terms of an option versus an obligation, various add-ons that would be part of that potential deal, stuff like that, even if it falls through, we won't necessarily know exactly what the sticking point was. So who knows? We get to sit around for a couple days and see it play out.
Also with PSG is Mario Lemina's brother, Noah. They're a little concerned about his visa. They can make a special exception based on him being like extraordinary young talent. Todd, do you think that one's going through?
Yeah, why not? I would love to see 2 Laminas. Yeah, bring him on. I don't know the finances or the rules behind it, but I think it'd be awesome to have a set of brothers on the pitch.
Paul, you probably know about those stupid Brexit rules more than the rest of us.
No way. I'm as detached from all of that bullshit as you can possibly imagine. So
Yeah, you
I
didn't even
try
get
and
to
never
vote
comment
it.
on Brexit because I have no fucking idea if it's a good or a bad thing. I don't struggle enough.
I assume
it's
you
very
didn't even
much
get to vote on it, Paul.
I could have done actually at the time, but yeah, it wasn't my battle. So
Yeah.
I'm
So I
staying
mean,
firmly out of it.
I can say generally that basically, before Brexit, you could sort of have players move much more freely, and now after Brexit, there's various rules that have to do with like which players can get work permits to come in and play, and those rules are based on things like actual sporting achievement, essentially. So like you get more points if you have like been called up by your national team, or if you've made a certain number of senior appearances in a top 5 league or whatever. And that's not just in Europe, but it's also like if we signed someone from South America, because there were some questions about I can't remember who it was. There was someone we were rumored with in South America where that was going to be an issue because they hadn't had a certain number of senior appearances or whatever. So that's basically the issue, is that Noah Lamina hasn't really played any senior minutes. He played a few minutes for Sampdoria, which are in the Italian second league. And that's kind of it. So it is tricky to get him a work permit. It's not about the transfer. It's like, for all UEFA cares, they're happy to have people move all over the place. It's the government that wants to decide who can come in and get a work permit to be a soccer player in England.
Government deciding what you do with your body. Interesting.
And probably the FA to a certain extent, because some of those, like the homegrown quotas, are to promote the sport in the UK and stuff like that. So,
Alex, do you think if he does come over, Mario Lamina will sign an extension to match the number of years as his brother?
Maybe. I kind of feel like, there's a good chance he could sign an extension here either way.
I think he's going to. I really do.
Even if his brother were not to come here. But I definitely think that would help, especially, given the fact that his brother would presumably be a long-term project, right? So like if it means Mario stays at the club longer, which also increases the chances of Noah being patient and understanding that, he's probably part of a number of different players that are, looped into that like Neto succession plan thing. And he's cool waiting a few years because he definitely needs the experience. And he's not going to get it in the Premier League, but I'd be happy for him to be a Wolves product on loan somewhere. Then yeah, I think it'd be great. I think it'd be a perfect storm. And I don't know. I also generally, just the only other thing I would say, because we were talking about Ekatike too, like, and I guess it started with Sarabia. I think it's really awesome that Wolves have a good relationship with PSG, because PSG are a club that is now looking to change its identity and kind of like absolve themselves of some of the players they realize they don't need, but they still have a lot of really good players. So we're just going to be like a landing spot for some of these guys who are like, yeah, I'll go to a mid-table team in England instead of sitting around here and never playing behind Kylian Mbappe and Ousmane Dembele and all these guys. Like, I love that. So they're a good club to have, politics aside. They're a good club to have as a friend, I think. And I think in some ways they can pretend to ask for an outrageous number of money, but money's not an object to them. So if they don't make money on a certain player that they were expecting to make, like, I don't really think they give a shit.
I think for them, it's probably more the sell-on fees, honestly.
Yeah, right. It's like, let's make something if he comes and actually plays for Wolves, and then it, becomes the next guy that some club is going to rip out of our hands, becomes the next Neto, who's rumored to go to Arsenal for like years and years. Which, like, please not Arsenal. I want them to win something. Like, that's the thing. I want these players to leave and win. I want to be happy for them. It's not going to happen at Arsenal, Pedro.
Arsenal in the grand scheme of things doesn't bug me that much. But oh my God, hearing them today complain about we're one of the thinnest teams in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
You know what scares me, though? You said before, or maybe Todd, it was you who said not Liverpool. Klopp leaving. I can see this now. Klopp leaving. Salah leaves. It's like new era at Liverpool. Who's going to be the face of that? Oh, it's young 22-year-old or wherever he is, Pedro Neto, who comes in and could just become their like new beloved figure. That would crush me.
As long as we get, I mean, we better get the money up front. They're still fucking paying for Jota. I'll probably have paid for my kid's college by the time we get all the Jota money. And she's in high school. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't expect much to happen, honestly. By the way, all you people like saying, well, they need to make Tommy Doyle like his thing official to appease the fans and all this stuff. No, they're not going to do that till the summer. FFP, guys. Why have we not wrapped our head around this already? They're doing these loan. They're not buying players specifically to stay out of trouble. I'm okay with that. Doyle's going to be a done deal this summer. Just calm your tits, all right? Jesus.
The one reason why we might do it, which I haven't heard anything suggesting that we would though, is that you only get a certain number of loan slots, and if
Mhm.
we wanted to free one up, then we could make his thing permanent and have another
But they're going to
player
make
come.
sure like that I
Yeah.
mean, because it sounds like it's close enough. Okay, yeah, it's what, 5 million for him or whatever. You
Yeah.
never know. That could, I mean, hey, let's get all the Americans on the phone. Let's buy a kit, right?
Yeah.
We'll help you guys. Don't worry. Americans to the rescue.
I'll clip that one up.
Oh gosh.
Oh, I'm feeling frisky drinking my Albion tears. All right, we got a big week this week. It's going to be tough, I feel like, for us as fans to get emotionally ready for these two games. So I can't even imagine the players. We have a game against Manchester United on Thursday, Paul, followed by a matchup against Chelsea on Sunday. Let's talk about that Manchester United game. They're still near the top. I don't even know how they get there. I really feel like the fans hate their team, hate their manager, the players hate each other, and yet they're still just kind of right there, right?
It has. They've not got that aura about them anymore. I was thinking about it today. I was like, where's that? Where's that player that you don't want getting the ball because they're so destructive? So it does seem that they scrape by and string some wins together, but they never look particularly attractive or dominating as they once did. And I think that's what is giving me some confidence in Thursday's game, in that our boys can ride off the success of Sunday, bring it into Thursday night game, decent atmosphere, decent opponent, and take it to them. So I'm quite confident.
Todd, especially with this matchup being at home, I feel like Wolves are definitely going to want to get some kind of result on Thursday.
Yeah. It'll be interesting for the players coming off the emotional high of Sunday, get right back into it, focus on the league. But I trust Gary to get them in that headspace to go out and say, hey, we were screwed over last time. Let's go and make things right. Let's not leave it up to chance. Let's not leave it up to VAR. Let's go out there. Let's win. So no one can debate how good we are.
Danny, kind of short rest. Do you see them bringing out the same squad that they did for the Black Country Derby, or are we going to see a little more rotation? Obviously, a lot of that depends on Sarabia's health.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how serious Sarabia's was. I heard a couple different things. One of them was a dead calf. And if so, that he could be better by then. I was surprised he wasn't even on the
Just
bench.
throw it on the grill.
Yeah. Yeah, I expect there to be changes, but the way that Gary's been operating, I don't know that there'll be as many as people are predicting. The one that I could see potentially is reverting back. I know everybody has been loving Doyle, myself included. But just in terms of the way that this game might go, and having João Gomez in now that he's back, I don't know. That one I'm still up in the air about, but I think largely it's going to be similar. I'm trying to look around. Yeah, Bellegarde for Sarabia would be an obvious one. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it will be just the same players. It's such a short turnaround though. But
Yeah,
man,
Alex.
on that note, I just want to say it is wild how many minutes Cunha has played. We keep saying like he can't keep this up. I have my various spreadsheets, the goal scorers and whatever, and I keep the minutes on there. The number one for minutes in the Premier League is Max Kilman, 1,890, which is 21 games played, all 90 minutes. Cunha, 1,762. He's only a little over 100 behind Max Kilman on
Over
number
21
of minutes
games.
played. It's insane.
For an attacking player. Man,
Yeah.
yeah. He's got the stamina for sure. The ladies like it.
All right. It's getting late here.
Alex, yeah, where does João Gomez fit in here? I figure he's going to start one of these two matchups this weekend, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to decide which one I would rather have him in, honestly. I don't know the answer to that. But it's
Maybe
also
the away game.
yeah, I was thinking maybe he would be better suited to come back in at Chelsea because that would also kind of like leave, not that Gary O'Neill needs an excuse, right? Like it's his team, but like it would kind of be a soft landing for Doyle coming out of the lineup when he's been playing
That's a
this
good
good.
point.
Because if I'm him and I'm pulled because Zhao's coming back off a suspension, but I've arguably been man of the match in almost every single match
Right.
that Zhao Gomez missed, I'd be like, WTF? Like, what are you kidding me? But if you're like, dude, you just played 2 games in a week and we only have 72 hours until kickoff again against Chelsea, then I think that's a little bit easier. So I think Doyle stays. And I like the idea of him having a go at, what can be at times a very suspect United back line. A couple
Yeah.
through balls from Doyle going past Johnny, what's his name?
Johnny Evans.
Yeah, Johnny Evans. I don't know why I almost called him Johnny Phillips. He almost caught a stray. Sorry.
Yikes.
Johnny
Friendly
Evans.
fire.
Yeah, didn't mean to. Although it's not, it's not a knock on him. If he played, he might be just as good as
Wow.
Johnny Evans. So
It's okay. Alex
um,
still has the tequila in
yeah.
his system. It's fine.
no, it's all good. And then Zhao in for, what is probably a better midfield at Chelsea, right? If they
Mhm.
have, I think
Mhm.
Enzo Fernandez is back playing, Caicedo. Yeah, I'd rather have Zhao's bite on the road at Stamford Bridge, I think.
Paul, if you can only win one of these games, which one is it?
United.
United.
Yeah, at home. Keep that good home record. Another notch on the bedpost of beating a big team that comes to Molineux. So yeah, I'll take that one.
Plus, if we
United.
win it, and the rest of the table stays the same, we go above them in 8th.
Nice.
Ooh. We are
I-
closer. We are closer to 7th than we are to the next spot down in the table.
Man, we're 1 week away, like 1-2, like back-to-back wins
Yeah.
that wouldn't be crazy. They wouldn't be huge upsets from all of a sudden that European dream not being so crazy of a thought.
Don't get too excited because you're banking on Luton to drop points to, or sorry, Brighton to drop points to Luton and Crystal Palace. So
Yeah, fair enough.
Hey, you know what though? Man, I'd love to see this team in Europe. Like I really would. I want a cup
Absolutely.
run. I want to win the cup more, I feel like, but a cup would secure a spot. So all right, let's look at the standings. Some of you guys did quite well. Andrew for the guest spot, or no, Dan John from the guest spot, got 3 points, as did Danny and Paul. You got your first 3-pointer of the year. You're still in last place, but now he's doing the Cunha celebration. That was much needed, though. Much needed. But Todd, the guest spot, is in this top spot with 19, so no pressure. I got 1 point, so I have 18 points. We have Danny and Alex tied for third with 17, and then Paul with 11 points. So that was a very needed result, Paul.
Don't call it a comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. So let's start with Manchester United first. Todd, what's your prediction?
1-1.
1-1?
As much as I want to win, I think it'll just be a very I'm hoping a very boring 1-1.
the score that the reverse fixture should have been.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Alex?
I am going to say a 2-1 win.
2-1 Wolves win. Okay. Danny?
Yeah, I feel weirdly good about this game. Maybe I'm just riding high. And so for that reason, I'm going to go with the same 2-0 I went for against West Brom.
Ooh.
And it'll get us out of the hole on goal difference if we get 2-0.
That's true. We are -1 right now. Paul?
I'm in the 2-1 home win club as well.
2-1 win. You know what, man? Saul's been looking good lately. I still know the United attack. I'm gonna say 1-0 Wolves. 1-0. And I think it'll be a late matchup. You know what? Here's what I'm gonna say. VAR comes through in the 83rd minute. Gives us a penalty.
I don't know what you're drinking, but
Now
I'll be
you're
in
getting
tears,
greedy.
baby.
Now you're getting greedy. First you want Europe, then you want a cup run. Now you want VAR to give us a decision against United. This is a
Let's
bridge
go.
too far, Josh.
Let's go. All right, the Chelsea matchup, which has me a little worried. Todd, how do you feel?
strangely confident, so I'm going to say 2-0, 2-0.
So you have a draw at home, but a 2-0 win
Yeah.
on the road. I love it.
Don't ask me. Yeah,
It'd be fun.
No, I love it.
it's going to be a fun one.
Alex?
I think for this one, I really want to say another win, especially because we beat them once already. And Chelsea has been that weird measuring stick that I just really want Wolves to surpass.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say we get a point from it. I'm gonna say it's 1-1.
1 draw. Danny?
My confidence just makes me want to say a win, but I'm gonna say a draw, and I like our scoring form right now, so I have to go 2-2.
2-2 draw. Okay. Paul?
I don't know who the hell is gonna score for them, but it's gonna be some bullshit, I'm sure.
Yeah, it'll be some. It'll be Sterling's Flappy Bird ass.
He'll score a penalty.
Yeah.
I can't see, unfortunately, Lightning striking twice in that we beat Chelsea at their place. We got a crappy record there for the most part. I could see that shitty early penalty of Sterling scoring. So sadly, I'm going to go for a 2-0 loss.
2-0. Okay. Well, I'm still going to have Wolves getting a goal because, the power of salt and lemon. So I am going to say, though, I do think Wolves will fall on this one. And I think it will be some bullshit Sterling crap at the end. So I'm going to say 2-1 Chelsea. I hope some of you other guys are right. Although, I'm looking at this. The most points we have is 4. So I think we can all agree getting 4 points from this week would be awesome. Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, 4 points. We're not asking much. We don't expect you to win every game, Wolves. Just,
Just every other.
here.
And draw
Just
the
every
other
other.
ones.
Yeah.
And make Europe.
Yeah.
And win the FA Cup.
And win the cup. Win the cup.
No Stupid Questions is presented by Esfuerzo Wines. Located just north of Santa Barbara, California, Esfuerzo Wines showcases passion and 3 generations of winemaking in every bottle. So whether you're celebrating a Wolves victory or winding down after a day at work, let Esfuerzo Wines transport you to the heart of California's wine country with every sip. For a limited time, head to esfuerzowines.com and use the promo code WOLVES for a 15% discount on your wine purchases. This message is intended for those of legal drinking age. Do not drink and drive. Excessive alcohol consumption may be harmful to your health. If you or someone you know is struggling with alcohol abuse, please seek help. Esfuerzo Wines reminds you to enjoy their products responsibly and in moderation.
Alex, it's time for our favorite segment. Although we don't have a question from Todd this week, which I'm very disappointed because he normally comes up with good stuff, but we still have
He
some
could
good
ask one on
ones.
the spot.
Oh, I could. Yeah, he could. He could.
Yes, of course, that segment that you're referring to is No Stupid Questions, which is brought to you by Esfuerzo Wines. Head to esfuerzowines.com. Use the promo code WOLVES. Get a 15% discount on your wine order. Every week, we prompt you for the questions on Twitter at WLWpod. That's where you could ask them, or you could also email your questions to us at hello@wholelotofwolves.com. So I will offer the floor to Todd if he would like to ask a live question, but there is no pressure. Or you could think on it maybe for a minute or two. Okay. Instead, we'll start off with King Wolf 84, who writes in, now that you guys have seen what a Black Country Derby is all about, what is the closest you have in the USA? I know we've talked a lot, Josh, about like Alabama, Auburn, and things like that, but I don't know. Is there anything else that after watching it you feel
So
like,
I
oh, I kind of
definitely
felt like
tried to I spent some time with this today trying to think and write down some stuff. So you can't say Army Navy. That's a huge rivalry, but there's still some respect involved there. And there's definitely no respect involved when it comes to the Black Country Derby. Um, so I'd say, yeah, Alabama, Auburn is up there. Texas, Oklahoma. I know my wife was with her Oklahoma fan at a bar one time for the Red Rivals shootout, and they got cussed out by Texas fans. So I think that's up there. Michigan, Ohio State, and also Ole Miss, Mississippi State, sneaky good one. I mean, you did have a player who acted like he was a dog urinating on the other fans after a touchdown a few years ago. The only professional ones I can think of, Alex, like I don't even think our Packers versus Bears is like this bad.
nah.
The only one I can think of is Dodgers Giants in baseball because there's literally been people that have been killed from fights in the
Yeah,
parking lot between the LA Dodgers and the San Francisco Giants.
that's true. Yeah.
Maybe Yankees, Red Sox, but
I would say modern day, maybe not as much, but I mean,
yeah.
definitely, I would say like early 2000, like pretty much until the Red Sox not only broke the curse, but then like kept winning. I think that
Mhm.
their hatred and also just hunger for, breaking the curse was fueled that rivalry in a way where that felt like it transcended baseball and that I wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable going to Fenway in Yankee stuff. And maybe I would if I wasn't like being loud, but like certainly you don't want to be
Right.
that guy. I wanted to nominate one, and I don't know that like the fan aspect of it is as much. And it's another one that I'm really sad that we don't have anymore. But when I was growing up, I was a way bigger NBA fan than I am now. And I grew up a Knicks fan. My family was Knicks fans. And Knicks Heat, there was like a guaranteed fight in
Oh,
every Knicks Heat game. And they used to play in the playoffs every year. And they used to go to this game 7 every year. And we literally had I say the Knicks literally had their coach, Jeff Van Gundy, hanging on
hanging
to the
on a
leg
player.
of Alonzo Mourning as Alonzo Mourning is like getting ready to fight Larry Johnson. Like that was a great one. Like I miss those days in general in the NBA.
Yeah, they're kind of. Ooh, I'm gonna piss off some more people. NBA's kind of soft nowadays. And I feel like it's kind of like that with the fans as well. There again, it comes back to the respect thing. Um, Todd, I know you know other sports besides soccer.
I do sort of. Uh, on a I thought about this today on a much smaller scale. So I grew up in very small town South Dakota. I went to my dirt track every Sunday to watch racing, to watch dirt
Mm.
track racing. And when I thought about rivalry and dividing families and stuff like that, I thought about those small dirt track ovals where like someone puts someone into the wall and you have a brawl in the pits. Mom's holding back one brother, dad's holding
That's a
back the
great
other.
comparison. I love
That's
that.
a
Yeah.
great comparison.
It is just dividing families, and then you get the fan bases on like the fans involved, and it's just like throwing beer, throwing punches. It's great. I
Danny,
mean, not
you
great
know
for the
any?
family.
You know any?
No, I don't have any. Right
I
now,
know.
the only thing that comes to mind is people who turn on the NFL to watch Taylor Swift versus old white guys who hate that.
She was only shown for 36 seconds this week, people. Just leave it alone. Leave it alone. Paul,
Yeah.
in your relatively short time in the US, have you seen any rivalries that are even come close?
No, not really. I was going to ask if it extends into ice hockey because they fight on the ice. Is there anything in NHL? If they're rough on the ice, does it translate to the fans?
Again, I don't know, like, when you're looking at just how much the fans hate each other. I
Yeah.
guess maybe some of those Canadian teams, but even that, I just don't think the vileness is
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, if we have
It
any
was
Canadian
really something to
listeners,
watch. I loved it.
Yeah. It was great. All right, let's go to Chase Brance's question. Who says this is the last thing about the Black Country Derby, I think, for the show. During the match stoppage, one West Brom fan walked onto the pitch and towards the Wolves end with a scarf raised. If you were chosen to represent all Wolves fans in a battle against this man, what competition would you challenge him to?
Fantastic. Paul.
A cleanliness competition.
Yeah.
Could guarantee a win for the Wolves.
Todd.
A spelling bee.
Oh, that was gonna be my guess. Was my
nice.
choice was the spelling bee? Yeah. Danny.
I don't know what I would challenge him to, but I would not challenge him to a Jerry Garcia lookalike contest.
Oh yeah,
My hair isn't quite gray enough yet.
Yeah.
dude. When he was walking across the field, that's when across the pitch. That's when it finally hit me. Like West Brom are a bunch of hillbillies. they really are. They're a bunch of hillbillies. Yeah, the spelling bee is definitely the obvious. You definitely want to take anything with randomness out of it. So you could also say like chess, but that's like super easy. I mean, spelling's definitely the way to go.
Wait, chess is super easy in what sense? Like you winning that?
Going against that guy.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, not in general. Yeah.
We got Magnus Carlsen over here.
Yeah, it's like, that'd be amazing if you were just an incredible chess player. If you were withholding this from us. Okay, and then Ed asked us if there are any updates on the Fan Fest in Nashville. Has there been anything from because it wouldn't necessarily come from the club, right?
It's not. We've been in touch. I believe there's stuff happening that they're trying to formulate, but not going to wait on the club so much. More the case that as soon as we find the confirmation of the fixture, because that's liable to change, that should be February this month coming. That will allow us to cement some firmer plans for the event. But apart from that, if you're thinking about it and if you're going for the weekend, then by all means there'll be stuff happening, and TexFest on tour is firmly underway with the planning stage.
Paul, are you coming in Friday and leaving Sunday? Is that your current plan?
Yeah, but that will depend on the fixture. I'll probably make mine a night's visit and get there early the day before, and then we'll do the recording after the game, and then I'll head out after that.
Yeah. So I definitely, and my wife's coming with me too. So Todd, your wife can come.
We got to talk about that. So here's the for Christmas, I bought Michelle and I tickets to see the Minnesota Orchestra perform with a local hip hop guy that weekend. And then a week later, after I bought the tickets, they announced FanFest, and now we're trying to figure out if what we're gonna do.
Just hey, now you have a little thing to base it off of and go, well, I know you won't be the only woman there. You won't be the
That's
only
true.
wife there. So see, I'm helping you out. I'm sure David
Thanks,
Coach will
man.
bring Kristen as well. She's a
Yeah.
blast. So I'm planning, Friday through Sunday. So definitely one of those nights we're going to get a photo with, whole lot of Wolves, guests coming in. I want to see all you guys. I want to see all you listeners. You guys are just awesome. Make this show happen. So hopefully, Alex and Danny, do you know yet? I know you guys are trying.
Yeah, waiting on the fixture as well, like Paul said, for exact accommodations and everything to be worked out. But
I imagine
think
that's
it
what
should happen.
That's probably what NBC's doing right now too.
Yeah.
So can't wait. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Oh, does Todd have a question?
I do have a question.
Yes.
This is more of a serious question, but why do you believe we don't see more rivalries in like the MLS, such as we saw this last weekend?
Ooh.
I've got several answers.
Let's go,
Good.
Danny. Let's hear it.
Well, for one, I think just the size of our country. It's way too
Right.
big, and there's way too much space between teams. And so even if you have a hated rival, like, that's even remotely close, there isn't like a huge traveling contingent. plus you don't have like, even without even ignoring the difference in like football pyramid and all that stuff, like you don't have teams like constantly playing each other. Like you see how like rivalries develop between Wolves and Villa just because they happen to be in the same division at the time and playing each other and both trying to achieve promotion. You know, there were like reasons for that. Um, and so like we kind of have these like baked in like divisions, but you don't like play them constantly. And then I think another thing, and this is very much one of my hobby horses, I suppose, that I bang on about, is that ticket prices in the US are obscenely high. And I was making this point to my friend Edgar during the Black Country Derby that I was like, there's a big difference where you have a structure that's built to accommodate more working class fans. And even that in England has shifted in the last several decades to be more middle class than working class. But like still at its core, soccer is a working class sport over there. And I think it is here too. But I think that like you don't develop those hated rivalries when the people in the stands have to pay so much, because those people who can afford those, they have other things in their lives. They're, you know, they're doctors, they have a busy schedule, they go skiing, whatever, you know, it's like they have other things to care about. But if you're a working class regular person who spends what little money you have going to that game, you are going to care desperately about those results in a way that a person who just drops in for a game or two doesn't understand. And I think that that's like a big part of our sporting culture that is usually different. And I don't like, I'm painting with a broad brush here. There are tons of super hardcore fans in the US who are not rich people. But I think like that combined with how far you have to go to your nearest rival is a huge thing. And then you have these like, you have develop a rival with a person across the country. What away fan can do that? You know, we were talking to over $1,000 just to go to an away game.
Yeah, I mean, Houston's biggest rival in MLS is Frisco, otherwise known as FC Dallas. But I mean, even then, and the Dynamo are among the cheaper tickets, but you'll usually only see maybe a couple hundred Dallas fans. Same with the reverse fixture. But yeah, you bring up a great point. I mean, most of these guys in England, they're walking to their pub and then they're walking to the match afterwards. You don't have that experience here. It's more of a kind of a night out that you like instead of a lifestyle. And that's where I think English sports definitely have an advantage over the UK or over the USA.
Yeah. Speaking of, this is a complete U-turn in some ways, but speaking of Frisco, I can't believe we haven't talked about the fact that the World Cup final is going to be in Arlington.
Oh, right? That was a given. Why were you guys surprised about that? That was 100%
not surprised. I'm just disappointed.
Oh, I knew that was a given. They had the most seats and they have 2 airports and everything. Like as soon as I saw Dallas was even in contention, I said they're going to get the final.
Look, once we had a World Cup in Qatar, I was not going to be surprised about it being in Arlington.
I've been expecting that announcement for honestly even before they announced the cities. I'm just glad, Paul. Houston, we're going to have 6 matches, probably a quarterfinal. Going to be exciting. How much are you willing to pay for an England national team ticket out here if they play in Houston?
I would. I'm just trying to save like every good feeling, every offer of any comp tickets at work or anything like that. I'm saving it all so it comes back and returns to me in kind when they rock up and play.
This will be your chance. If England can beat the US during the World Cup, you can walk into work wearing an England.
My God,
yes. Kind of, yeah. Although I don't have an official office, so yeah, I would have to.
Well, you got some time between now and then to get an office.
True. Yeah. Okay, let's work towards that.
That brings the end to No Stupid Questions. Thanks to everyone for your questions. And of course, thanks to Esfuerzo Wines for sponsoring it and the generous offer of a discount using the promo code Wolves, esfuerzowines.com.
I was very glad that we had you on tonight. Good times. So tell us how we can find you and about where to watch games with you in Minnesota.
Yeah, come to Minnesota. It's great. The winter has been really mild. I think it got in the 50s. So if snow and ice scares you, don't bother. It's great. You can find me on all social media platforms at Todd DeWitt, TODEWITT. On Twitter, I am Todd DeWitt with a donut for the O.
With the donut.
Do I have to drink Malort if I come and watch Wolves with you?
You specifically, yes. Everyone else, no.
Damn it. And we cheers to another good episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Danny on the socials, Alex producing. We will be back similar time next week for what we call the Twilight Zone, which is another fixture against Brentford that we'll preview. And we'll find out what happens on Thursday and then on Sunday. So in the meantime, everyone, up the mighty Wolves and still fuck off West Brom.
Fuck off, West Brom. We're Wolves.